Am I the a-hole for refusing to walk my daughter down the aisle? My daughter, 26, female, and I haven't spoken in years. When she was 15, we found out she wasn't my biological daughter, and that my wife had cheated on me years ago with a friend. As it turns out, the so-called friend was suddenly interested in playing dad. My wife and I divorced. My daughter learned the truth, and I told her I still loved her no matter what. Of course, she was interested now in getting to know her biological father, and while it hurt, I tried to accept that. She started pulling away from me after that. Even when trying to still do things together as a family, she was no longer interested. The last straw was when she was 20 and living at my house. We were arguing because she dropped from her college courses, hasn't done anything for 3 months, and mad because I told her she either needed to go to school or work if she wants to stay here for free. She told me I'm not her real dad, so stop pretending like I am, and that she'll just go stay with her real father. That broke me, honestly. But I told her if that's how she really feels, then there's really nothing left to say between us. And she didn't move out to go live with him. I was depressed for a very long time, drank so much. My son, 24 male, was my only reason to keep moving forward. For the first couple years, I reached out to my daughter, but she wanted no contact, and I learned to accept that and move on. It helped me find more peace in my life. My son stopped talking to her for a while over this and was angry with her. They still chat sometimes, which doesn't bother me at all, and through him I learned her biological father died in October 2019, also that she's engaged. She then reached out to me. First, that she knows that we haven't talked in a while, but wants to ask me if I'd be willing to walk her down the aisle. After a pretty long message about how much she hurt me in the past with her actions, I told her no. She didn't want me to be her father anymore, so I learned to no longer view her as my daughter. This turned into a fight between us because, according to her, it's not her fault she wanted to know her real dad. And I agree with her it's not. But what was her fault was how she treated me ever since. In my mind, I know if he hadn't passed away, we wouldn't even be speaking right now. It ended with telling her I hope she enjoys her wedding, but I want no part of it or her life. My son has told me she's ranting to my family that I'm ruining her day, and she thought parents are supposed to love their kids unconditionally. My brothers seem to think now that I'm being a-hole, and that this is my chance to be in her life again. But I have no interest in that. Still seems everyone has a strong opinion on it, that I'm making it difficult for my daughter to have the wedding she wants when it would mean a lot to her. My son is on my side, but the comments are still wearing me down. And just for the sake of my sanity, am I being an a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She decided that you're not her father in any capacity. You respected that. Now that the other guy is dead, she doesn't get to change the rules. She doesn't want you. She wants someone to play a part. Maybe your son can be the one to give her away instead. Or her mom can walk her down the aisle. Maybe, but my son already said he's not going to the wedding. Not over this. He just doesn't want to. So don't know what his response would be if she asked him. They're not close despite talking every now and then. Not today, home. Wow, Opie. I'm so sorry to read through your story, and some people may disagree, but I really don't think you're the a-hole. You attempted contact throughout the years, but it wasn't you that became distant. It was your daughter. She wanted to get to know her by dad. Nothing wrong with that. But at the expense of becoming distant and eventually having no contact with you, her dad who had been there for her since she was born. Now the boy dad isn't there to walk her down the aisle. Opie, if she wanted you at her wedding, you would have gotten an invitation, and not become a stand-in for deceased boy dad. Why can't your brother walk her down the aisle? Personally, I think she just wants her wedding to look good, irrespective of how you feel. Not an a-hole at all. He said he's not going to the wedding regardless, but I'm not sure if she would ask him. Hi, Opie. I'm adopted. It is entirely possible to have a relationship with multiple sets of parents. When I found my bio dad, my adoptive dad invited him to a Father's Day barbecue. My bio dad asked if he would be stepping on his toes. My adoptive dad said more people loving my daughter is a good thing. Not today, home. She's just mad that this will ruin her day. Has no concerns over your thoughts and feelings. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I'm glad his stealing my money gave his marriage bad luck? My mom died when I was 10, and she left me money in trust with my grandparents in charge. But my dad got access to it due to him being my dad and knowing about it, and paid for his wedding with it a few months later. I hated him for it. Then afterward, he and his wife had a worse luck. She lost her job and had to take a huge downgrade, and then they couldn't have kids. Then my dad's longest friend told him he was done with him after they'd had a fight a couple of months before that. My dad got also passed over every promotion since. I know it's not my mom, but I like to think my mom gave them the bad luck when they used her money to pay for their wedding. Though my grandparents secretly put the money to a different account and considered it my mom's money for me still, so I didn't fully miss out. But my dad didn't care if I did. I'm now 20 and kinda estranged from my dad. I saw him at my his dad's, house a couple of weeks ago, and he was ranting to me about not being there after the crap they have gone through. I told him I was glad stealing brought him bad luck, and to leave me alone. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He reaped what he sowed. Can't blame anyone except for his a-hole self. I think this may be one for the history books as positive proof of witchcraft. Not mad about it at all. Leaving the new wife aside, I'm thinking that the reason your dad's been passed over for every promotion and the fact he used money meant for you for himself might be one and the same. I'm sure if he's that entitled and selfish, it's probably coming across in his work too. Not the a-hole. Exactly. People who would steal from their children by literally breaking the law will not all of a sudden be moral and decent human beings in every other aspect of their lives. And same thing goes for the new wife. Yep, my a-hole dad stole my inheritance. Our estrangement began with a lawsuit. Not the a-hole. But several people failed you here. A trust set up by others is meant to prevent anyone who isn't a trustee, parents included, from accessing it. Being your dad wouldn't have given him free access. He'd have needed special permission to access it, usually done through court, and he would have had to prove why he needed it and how it was being used for you. Besides that, only your grandparents would have been able to access it to give him permission since they were trustees. We believe it was the bank that ultimately failed me. The bank account my dad went in with my papers and gained access that way. My grandparents were furious. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for charging my sister a full price for the costume baskets plus robes, forcing her to possibly have to return her dream wedding dress? Basically, a couple months ago, my female 19, sister 30, was telling my mom she had a really tight budget for her wedding and couldn't afford the big wedding she had dreamt of. So I offered to help her find cheaper alternatives to the decorations she wanted. She asked if I could make the bridesmaids costume baskets and robes with their names on it for less than half of what I charge, because she couldn't find someone who could make it for a cheap enough price. So I agreed. Eventually, she managed to save a lot and was able to get the dress she originally wanted. I figured everything else was fine, until last week. My sister decided she did not want kids at her wedding because she wanted the adults to enjoy themselves and drink. I still thought nothing of the sudden change, until she told me I was no longer invited to her wedding. When I asked her why, she said because I was to be considered a kid since I can't drink. She said I was still invited to the wedding rehearsal, but that's it. I told her since I wasn't invited to the wedding, to find someone else to do the costume robes plus gift baskets, or pay me full price for it. This meant she would have to return her dress because everything else she had for the wedding was already the cheapest she could find. Both my mom and dad say I'm being petty, and that I should still do it because she's my sister. Her fiancé has also called me self-centered and childish, and my brother agreed with him. Am I the a-hole here? Edit. Some people suggested she uninvited me for a different reason, but we haven't had any argument in a while. And the last big argument was last year, so I don't see what I could have done to make her uninvite me. But thank you guys for the comments. Also, I live in America, so I legally can't drink for another 2 years. But I didn't have a problem with not drinking anyways. Also adding, I was invited. I didn't assume I could go. She was there when I bought my dress. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You're 19 in immediate family, not a toddler of a distant relative. Is she also going to uninvite anyone who's teetotal or simply doesn't drink? The adults can still enjoy themselves. You're in no way preventing that. Tell her that if you're considered a kid, fulfilling her request would be child labor, and you wouldn't want to encourage her to do something so unethical as to capitalize on that. I love the child labor comment. That's the reason the OP should give to her sister for not doing baskets and robes. Not the a-hole. I'm shocked that she would uninvite you and call you a child after using you for cheap labor. That is ridiculous. She can pay you full price or re-invite you. She doesn't have to have a wedding at all. If she can't afford some things, that's her problem. Not the a-hole. Yep, it would be sucky behavior even if she was some random friend or a distant relative. But own sister? Yeah, no. Next story. Am I the a-hole for publicly calling out my sister and her new husband for lying about their wedding being child-free? My stepdaughter 15 Jane has a burn scar around her neck and covers one side of her face. The reason was an accident that took place 4 years ago. And yes, she's already gotten tons of insensitive comments. But to me and her dad, she's still the most beautiful soul. Her family's been supportive and loving towards Jane. My sister and her now husband got married days ago. They told me and my husband they decided the wedding would be child-free, meaning Jane couldn't come. They asked if that'd be okay, and we said yeah, absolutely. Respect the bride and groom's rules. I've immediately arranged for Jane to stay with a friend that she calls Auntie, though Jane wanted to attend the wedding. But I explained this was a rule for everyone, and we should respect that. My husband and I got to the venue, and first thing we noticed was kids. Kids of all ages all around the venue. My husband literally stopped walking. He paused for a few seconds, looked at me, then let go of my hand and said he was out of there. He walked out, but I stood still when my mom saw me and signaled me to come join the family. But I didn't go. He asked one of the guests who had his kid with him, and he said this event allowed kids. I was seeing red at this point because I was fooled into leaving Jane at home and coming with my husband only. I ignored Mom and went straight to where my sister and her husband were standing. Then I blew up at them asking why they lied about this being a child-free wedding when it wasn't. He asked them in front of everyone why they decided to basically lie to me and my husband and get us to exclude our daughter. Why? Is Jane somehow different from the other kids who showed up? My sister tried to calm me down, but I bluntly asked if it was because her step-niece has a burn scar / visible injury that she and her husband were too ashamed of. I literally heard guests saying, "Oh." Mom tried to get me to step off the stage, but I proceeded to call my sister and her husband awful, insensitive people with no respect for me or their niece. My sister started crying saying she would never, and that I misunderstood, and brother-in-law begged me to go sit. But I refused, and said I wasn't interested in celebrating / supporting their marriage after this. I walked out, and was followed by my mom and aunts lashing out saying I went out of line, and was disrespectful of the bride who is my sister for God's sake, and ruined her wedding by saying that in front of everyone. Mom said it was brother-in-law's idea, and I have a right to be mad, but I should have confronted her later, not in front of guests and ruining the event. They said eventually this was their day, and they get to decide. But still, they said I should have spoken to her privately or left instead of making a scene. Not they home. They deserved every bit of embarrassment. Yep, just showed all their friends and family the true versions of themselves. Not they home. What shocked me about this was that your mom clearly knew this lie was happening and didn't tell you. What did she expect? That you would be okay with it? Your daughter clearly has great parents who love her and a sucky extended family. People turn into absolute monsters over making sure their wedding looks perfect. I'll never understand why these kinds of people are so quick to ruin their relationships over trying to present a certain image to others. Not they home. I'm glad they got called out in front of everyone for being horrible people. Your poor daughter is probably sensitive about the scar as it is. This would make her feel so much worse. I hate to think about how she'd feel if she finds out about this. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pass down my engagement ring to my future daughter-in-law? My son Sam, 26, and his longtime girlfriend, now fiancée Emily, 26, finally decided to get married. They had announced their engagement privately to my husband and me, and after the initial excitement, they said they had something important to talk to me about. Sam wanted my engagement ring to give to Emily. Sam said this would be a great way to keep him from starting his marriage in debt, from having to buy a new expensive diamond ring. Emily also added that she has liked the look of my ring a lot, and would love for me to pass it down to her. I love my engagement ring. I've worn it every day since my husband proposed to me with it, and to be honest, I still have plenty of years to live that I want to keep wearing it until I am old and gray. Also, my ring is not a family heirloom. My husband chose and bought this ring for me many years ago. So I told them that I appreciated them wanting my ring, but no, I wanted to keep it. I listed out the reasons above, and how I don't want to part with my ring yet for the rest of my still long life. However, when I am old, I would be more than happy to give it to their future children. Well, Sam and Emily weren't happy with my answer, and Sam actually called me selfish and materialistic. He said that diamonds are a scam, and asked how I could let him go into debt to buy a new ring. Emily was disappointed, and said that she had hoped that my ring could become a family heirloom, and it would be a token of accepting her into our family. I've always liked Emily, and we got along great. They also said that I could keep my wedding band, so it wasn't like they were leaving me without any rings to wear. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and I almost can't even believe this. They're calling you materialistic? They can get married without any diamond ring at all. It's hardly a requirement. Your son is additionally an a-hole for asking you this with Emily right there in front of you. It's like a kid who asks his mother, "Can Jimmy spend the night?" with a friend there so mom can't say no. Bad enough that Emily was there too. But Emily actually piping up to express her own disappointment? This is gobsmacking. What's next? They ask to be gifted Opie's house so they don't start their marriage in debt? While we're at it, go ahead and throw in all your savings. You two are old and your life is basically over anyway. If I was Opie, I'd be seriously questioning where me and my husband went wrong in raising the self-absorbed a-hole, and how he could possibly have turned out this way. Not the a-hole. Time for them to grow up. That crap floored me too. So not the way to start off your relationship with your mother-in-law. Also, if they're so concerned about materialism and cost of a diamond, then they could always get a cheaper stone. Hell, pawn shops are full of other people's heirlooms and diamond rings for a bargain. If Opie's son is insistent on an actual diamond while still being a cheap a-hole. Edit. Thanks to everyone who commented. I liked reading about your own engagement rings and diamond alternatives. My husband did defend me, and had told our son to leave and walk it off when he started arguing with me. He said he's on my side, and would have respected my decision with the ring, but he admitted that he was happy that I still love my ring so much after all these years. Am I the a-hole for demanding my widowed sister-in-law and her kids to leave after she put a lock on the bathroom door and denied my daughter access to it? I'm a father of a 16-year-old daughter. I own a one-bathroom middle-sized house where me, my wife, her widowed sister, and her two kids, 13 and 16, live. My daughter had issues with her mother and requested to live with me permanently. I had legal stuff finalized and my daughter moved in with us a month ago. She and her stepmom get along, and so far everything was going well. My daughter had her period days ago. Nothing new, nothing strange, except my sister-in-law came to me complaining about my daughter leaving used pads in the bathroom, causing her sons to see them. I asked where exactly and she said in the trash can. I laughed in her face asking if she thought this was abnormal or strange. She got upset that I didn't understand her point, and wanted me to listen carefully as she explained that her boys are pretty young, and shouldn't be subjected to witness stuff like that. I said I'll see what I can do. I talked to my daughter and made sure she wasn't just leaving her used pads in full display inside a trash can. Turns out she wraps them in toilet paper, which is enough in my opinion. I told my sister-in-law there was no problem then, and she should quit being too sensitive over her boys. She got mad saying I was dismissing her concerns, and reminded me her oldest has blood phobia, and my daughter, even though doing it unintentionally, keeps leaving her pads exposed. I welcomed any ideas to fix this, and she suggested my daughter throw her used pads outside house. I stopped arguing at that point because of how ridiculous she was being. She threatened to change the bathroom door lock if I don't do something, but I laughed her off. Then my daughter called me the next day after getting back from school, saying her step-aunt refused to let her use the bathroom and was keeping it locked. She had to use her new friend's neighbor bathroom, but called me to let me know. I was freaking livid and went home and blew up at my sister-in-law. She apologetically said the lock was only for when my daughter tries to leave her pads inside, and that she would have allowed her if she agreed to put her used pads elsewhere, but my daughter was stubborn. I told her she was out of her mind to get a new lock for my door in my own house, and keep my daughter from accessing the bathroom. I removed it quickly, and she kept lashing, then called my wife. My wife came to calm us down, but I told her and sister-in-law that I have no problem kicking her out. My sister-in-law started crying, and my wife said her sister is a widow and will be homeless without us. But I said I stopped giving a crap the minute she tried to keep my daughter out of the bathroom. I demanded she leaves, but my wife said I was unfair to those kids. I bluntly said not my problem and she has 6 days to move out. Now for the top comments. Not today, home. Boys are pretty young. Teach them that women have periods then. Christ. Your daughter has a great father. Tell sister-in-law if she doesn't like it, she can get out. Seriously, the boys are 13 and 16. They can deal with it and be glad they aren't the ones getting periods. 13 and 16 is old enough to learn not to dig through the bathroom trash. Not stay home. Yay, Opie. Widows with 16-year-old and 13-year-old kids can well afford to work a full-time job, since the kids are in school most of the day and can stay alone for, say, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Or she can apply for welfare, food stamps, Section 8 housing, go to a shelter, ask her late husband's family for help. The possibilities are endless. She started receiving benefits after her husband passed away, but she complains it's not enough to provide for her 2 kids. The rest of my in-laws are negative and won't help. Everyone sucks here and there's an easy solution. The sister-in-law has to leave, but you let the kids stay. No sense punishing them for having a neurotic mom. Your sister-in-law is a monster, and I'm pretty sure what she did counts as some form of child mistreatment. But putting 2 kids on the street would also be horrible. Protecting your daughter should not involve endangering other kids. I don't think Opie's an a-hole. Sister-in-law literally locked Opie's daughter out of the bathroom in house I presume she doesn't pay anything towards. Besides, what are the odds sister-in-law would actually let them stay? Depending on where you live, only one is considered old enough to decide where they live. It sucks for sister-in-law's kids, but Opie should put his daughter first. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share my stuff from my dad's at my mom's house? My parents are divorced and I split my time equally between parents. Until 2 years ago when I decided to just spend the time at my dad's and be less at my mom's. My reasons were largely to do with it being less crowded at my dad's. It's just me, him, and his wife. At my mom's, it's her husband, his 4 kids, and his 2 nieces who all live with him full-time. It bothered my mom because she thought I would love having a big family. But no offense to her, it never felt like a real family. They were her family, sure, because she married her husband, but it never felt like that marriage made us all anything. They were just random people. I never found anything in common with any of them, and I never felt love for them, except my mom. It was easier being there less. There was less pressure to hang out with them, and it didn't annoy me as much having so many other kids around. The problem is because they have so many kids at their house and they don't have that much money. Things are tight. My dad got me a new console a couple of months ago for my 16th birthday, and my mom knows about it. She asked me to bring it over some of the weekends, so we could all play and they could experience some of the stuff they miss out on. But I told her I wasn't going to do that. It's been a fight between us since that, because she's disappointed I don't want to share more of the privileges I get with my siblings. She doesn't know I don't think of them as my siblings. She thinks I see them as typical annoying younger siblings, but I really just don't think about them all that much. I just don't want to bring stuff to that house from my dad's. I have my stuff there and my stuff at her place, though not really anymore. The other night, my mom sent me a text that she's disappointed I don't want to do more to have fun with the others. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Sounds like you were an incredibly mature and insightful 16-year-old. Unfortunately, I can see the console thing going from bring it over every now and then to leave it here for a week to it getting broken. Not because those kids are bad, just 6 kids sharing a console sounds dire. You might discuss it with your dad. See if he can help you out. He may be willing to play the bad guy and say it stays at his house. I don't know your parents' relationship. Keep enjoying your space. Tell your stepmom you appreciate her. Huh. I did that for my son. Wasn't really concerned with how my ex thought of me, so I told her that my rule was that console stayed at my house. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Good chance Opie's dad will do that same. Not today home. If, and this is an if, you want to spend time with the other kids, you can suggest activities that everyone can afford to. Go to the park, play board games, etc. But do not bring things like a game console, because you know you'll be asked to leave it behind. Not today home. Your mom chose this family, while it was forced on you. She get a new love in her life, you get 4 random strangers wanting to borrow your stuff. I get that this must be hard. Good on you for not openly being hostile towards your new siblings. Not the a-hole for not wanting to share your belongings. You clearly are making efforts, but there are limits to what should be expected of you. If they break it, will they replace it? Of course not. Money's tight. Keep it at your dad's. Safer this way. It's 100% yours anyway. Not the a-hole. Your dad bought it, so it should be at your dad's. It's your call to want to take it over to your mom's. Just a reminder that those kids didn't have a say in the matter of having a new sibling, too. And I get that, which is why I'm not going around blasting it. I keep it to myself. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for asking a man to drop charges against my son? My 42 female son is 16 years old, and about a year ago, he started hanging out with an unhealthy crowd. I have been giving him detentions of all kinds, but it only made him rebel against me, so I stopped and let him figure it out for himself. A few weeks ago, the worst happened. I got a call from the police station that my son had participated in an attempted theft. As soon as I got the call, I told my husband, and we went to the police station. They told us that my son and his friends tried to steal stuff from some man's car, and when the man came and saw them, he had a heart attack due to previous problems. His friends all ran away, but he stayed with the man, called the ambulance, and helped him take his chest pain medicine. Luckily, he's okay now. When we got home, my husband was furious, but he kept yelling at him. But I tried to stay rational and ask my son to tell me everything. Then he broke down crying and told me how I was right about his friends and how horrible they are. He then said that his friends came to the idea to steal a wallet and a mobile phone they saw in the passenger seat in a car. He told them that it was a dumb idea and that they should drop it, but they didn't listen. He then didn't help them, but didn't stop them either. He saw the man coming but didn't tell them because he hoped for him to catch them in the act. But when the man came, he got so shocked that he started holding his chest and he fell on his knees. His friends then ran away, but he helped him. Now, the man has returned from the hospital. Also, he will be pressing charges against all the boys, including my son. Don't get me wrong. I know that my son did a bad thing, but I think it's a little unfair to treat him the same as the other boys who ran away. So I visited the man, and after a while of chatting, I asked him if he could drop the charges against my son because, after all, he was the one who helped him. The man then got furious and told me that I'm a bad mother and a horrible person for even asking such a thing of him. After I got home, I told my husband about what happened, and he was also mad at me. He said that our son has to face the consequences of his actions, but I disagree because a criminal record of this nature will ruin his life. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Not only did your son participate in a crime, you only have his side of the story. This man is at the hospital because of your son and friends, likely costing him lots of money. And you showed up to get your son off because he didn't let the guy die after participating in a crime? You're the a-hole. Crimes have punishments. What does it show your son if he gets off? That it's okay to do crimes as long as you make sure the other people do worse? He's a minor, and his record should be sealed when he turns 18. Making him deal with this now will prevent it happening again when the record can't be sealed. Also, if the son was so against it, why didn't he leave? He just stood around and watched while his friends broke into a car? You wanted your child to figure it out on his own, and now he's learning the lesson you didn't teach him. Congratulations. Yeah, this guy has it right. You should have kept trying to discipline him in my view. Keep going until you find something that works. But you didn't, which I can understand. Raising kids is hard. You made a choice of letting him figuring things out, and you should stick to it. It hurts, and it sucks, but you made your choice, and he made his. You're the a-hole, but I get it. No a-holes here. Well, I'm going against the grain. Given that your son called for an ambulance and stayed, and without this staying likely none of the kids/potential young adults would have been caught, I don't think that you're the a-hole for asking. Given the man's brush with the death experience, I understand his anger at your asking. The only reason the son stayed is to not live with the guilt of killing a man for his stupidity. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not apologizing to my brother/sister-in-law for saying they starved their baby? Plus little update. My brother and his wife had their first baby 7 months ago. My mother, who lives with me, recently started watching the baby instead of placing in daycare. So the baby is at my house all week. It's been a month, and my mom says that the baby barely sleeps. Will cry and show signs of tiredness, but only naps for half an hour at the most. My brother and sister-in-law have also told us that the baby still wakes up almost every 1 to 2 hours throughout the night, like a newborn, and it's extremely exhausting. They've tried plenty of different things, but nothing has improved much. The baby only drinks breast milk. While I know every baby's different, and what works for some might not on others, I still can't help but think they aren't feeding the baby enough. As a mother of 3 myself, all my kids started differently. One ate baby cereals at 4 months, another didn't take solids until 6 months. But I think I have a good sense of when a baby is ready to start taking in more. After finding out that they only feed a baby 4 ounces at a time, I suggested talking to a pediatrician about starting baby in solids. They said a doctor already gave them the go-ahead, but my brother and sister-in-law didn't think the baby was ready yet. So I said I think upping his ounces in milk would probably help baby sleep better. Fuller is equal to longer stretches. They brushed me off. The last Friday my mom was watching the baby, I decided on her own to give the baby smashed up banana, which the baby absolutely loved. My sister-in-law was pissed, and obviously I can see why. It wasn't my mother's call to make for numerous reasons, but my mom wouldn't back down, saying they were starving their grandchild. So they called me and basically demanded I get in the middle and make my mom apologize to them or she wouldn't see the baby anymore. I told them I think she should apologize for not getting their permission, but that I don't think my mother is wrong for her reasoning. That they aren't feeding their child enough. It may be because they're new parents, they ought to hear other parents out. They called me some choice words and said they don't feel comfortable leaving their child at my house anymore until we apologize. I said I wouldn't give their baby anything they don't want me to, but that I will not apologize for voicing my opinion. Am I the a-hole for not just apologizing and keeping my opinions to myself? Now my mother and I might not get to see the baby for the foreseeable future. Now for the top comments before the little update. You're nicer than I am. I would have called their pediatrician. They are a mandatory reporter, and this could easily be a CPS issue. Kids die because of stuff like this. But they saw a doctor, and they would have noticed if the baby is not gaining weight. There's so much info missing in this post. Does the baby gain weight? Does he reach his milestones? Is he only getting pumped milk or milk directly from the mother too? Nature doesn't let you track volume, so you never know how much they drink. Not day home. Call the pediatrician. I had an in-law that was starving her infant son. I was getting ready to call CPS when the pediatrician yelled at her, told her to get the baby a high chair and start feeding him. Info. Is the baby actually underweight and failing to thrive? If baby's breastfeeding, you have no idea how much baby is having at a time. 7 months is roughly the right time to start on solids for most babies. But you do realize that when you start yours in solid at 4 months, that's totally against medical advice now, right? 6 months is the earliest they should be introduced to anything other than breast milk/formula. So I need more info to judge this one. If baby is underweight, then you're not the a-hole. But if baby is developing properly at a healthy weight, is determined by a professional who has been mapping their growth and weight, etc., then you're absolutely an a-hole. Edit and slight update. I see a lot of call CPS. Neither my mom nor I think involving CPS is appropriate. We know the parents love their baby and are just worried about giving baby the wrong thing. Baby has regular checkups and doesn't seem like he misses a meal. There's never been any reports of malnutrition, so this is why, I assume, parents have felt comfortable going at the pace they are. We know the baby eats 4 ounces at a time because that's how much are in each bottle, and sister-in-law says 1 bottle each feeding, but we have no idea how much baby drinks when she directly breastfeeds at home. She works part-time, so baby's only with mom for 6 hours a day at most. That's about 2 to 3 bottles worth. I know I said I think they aren't feeding baby enough, but that was out of concern for sleep and parent sanity, and not because I think they're purposely starving their child. I talked with my brother and told him my concerns. He said we'll start baby on solids slowly, their own blends of mixed veggies. But fruits are too sugary, and they don't want baby to get used to sweets first. Ultimately, I think they took what I said under consideration, and are still navigating new parenthood. However, they are still not talking to my mom, because they don't trust that she will consult with them first before giving their child foods they haven't tested themselves. Until she apologizes, I don't think mom will be babysitter anymore. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex he can figure out his own damn gifts for his own kids and stop expecting free stuff from me? I found out my ex was having an affair 5 years ago. He left me for the other woman, who he now has 3 kids with. We have 2 together. Our daughter is 10 and our son is 8. At first, I did my best to try and put things in the past and think of the kids by being considerate when it came to their siblings. And then they started expecting me to send more and more. I'm talking not just something for Christmas or birthdays, but Easter and whenever I get my kids something big just because. It was also the expectation that I would take them on fun trips with my kids, that I would have them in my home. And I just can't. I hate my ex. I hate his wife, and I don't love their kids, even as my kids' siblings. I don't hate them, but I also don't want to be part of their lives. Might sound terrible, but I just can't. Even with them being cute babies and toddlers, there is just too much that went on with me and my ex and his affair partner that I can't deal. Now, X is claiming that this is hurting the kids. I'm a spiteful witch, that I owe it to our kids to be a better person, etc. And that it made the kids days to have gifts from someone other than mom and dad, since his wife is a former foster kid and he was disowned by his family for cheating. They're very religious and do not approve of divorce or any kind of cheating, and I can confirm they were disgusted by his actions. So the kids only have them. X was never a person who had a lot of friends, and definitely not someone who would buy gifts for the kids. The kids never really got into buying the gifts, which could be due to X only having one weekend a month due to his work schedule. But yeah, I guess part of me does feel bad because of the kids. The other part of me just really resents being in this position and being taken advantage of by my ex and his wife. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Ironic that a man who had an affair left you for the mistress is telling you to be the better person. Well, he knew he wasn't capable of being it. Not the a-hole. You do not owe your ex's kids gifts. Unfortunately, the expectation has already been set up with them, but they'll get over it. Don't let yourself be guilted. They definitely would. All his kids are under 5, so we'll probably forget eventually. I can still feel a bit guilty, but it's not a thing I want to keep doing forever. Not the a-hole. He thinks you owe it to the kids to be a better person? What does he owe to the kids then? Not the a-hole. What about not having a home-wrecking father? He owed that to his first kids. Not the a-hole. He is latched onto you like a leech. Salt won't work here, but he needs to get shut down hard. The cohesion of his family is his business, not yours. Good luck. He sounds very tiring, but you are absolutely right. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my bio dad a stranger? Long story, hope it makes sense. I, 27 female, spoke to my bio dad, 50s male, a while back, and he said he wanted me to have his last name. In the past, this man claimed my mother was a loose woman and that I wasn't his child. He would even tell me this when I was little and was visiting him. So I told him I didn't think I wanted to do that because of said history, and he made it off like it should be an honor, and that he's ready to claim me as his own. Fast forward, I get a call from his sister. She asked if I could go to court and tell a judge that my bio dad is my dad, so that it would be easier for him to get a green card. I said I'd only do it if he was going to bring my siblings over too, but I wanted to wait. Well, they moved on and tried to find another way to bring him into the country. Eventually, I spoke to his family about what happened and mentioned that he doesn't know me. He's never acknowledged my birthdays or helped my mother financially. She had to bust her bum to give me what I needed, and luckily, what I wanted. He'd only call, but with years between phone calls, visits only happened because my mom would save up to send me on vacation during school break to see her sister. And every chance I had to spend time with him, he would get drunk and just rant about how my mother is loose. I also mentioned that I tried to confront him about this, and how much pain it cost me, only for him to deny it ever happened. He might have been too drunk to remember. Anyways, once my rant was over, I topped it off with threatening to file for child support on my mother's behalf if I did help him get a green card. I said he's a stranger and has a big sense of entitlement. Well, his family didn't like that at all. They said I needed to forgive him and to let him into my life because he's my dad, and always will be. My siblings are very offended, and some of our cousins have been rude about it too. They're acting like I'm being disrespectful. I don't think I said it in a rude way, but with conviction. Am I the a-hole? Edit. This post has me shaking in my boots down memory lane. I should have clarified some things. He is currently sober, and his sister was going to cover all the expenses, including a lawyer. I'm not too sure what the process is, but I was told I could have helped the process to get a green card go a lot faster. He tried to find another way to get into the country, so I'm sure he can keep trying. I just needed time to process their request, and I only considered it for my siblings' sake. As for the child support, I felt like my mom would be entitled to some kind of compensation. I don't even know if I could file for it. She paid for a lot of medical bills insurance wouldn't cover when I was growing up. So shouldn't they try to help? She never asked anyone for a dime when I had a surgery. Never even shared about the financial pressure she was under until much later, and that made my heart hurt for her. I don't believe my mother is a loose woman. I think she chose to leave an unsafe/unhealthy situation. She became a citizen in another country, learned to write/read/speak another language, and became an independent woman who lived kinda comfortably. I also think this embarrassed them, so they slandered her. Most women stay no matter what in their town. And what makes me laugh is that my mother never spoke a word about him unless I had questions. Thank you. You guys helped me realize that this guilt isn't mine to bear and gave me the confidence to start putting some boundaries up or cut them out. I'm more than happy to forgive them for being human. I just don't want them in my life, and that's okay. I decided that today, actually. Bless you all with whatever good vibes you believe in. Not today, Hull. Just sounds like they want to use you to get him a green card. Exactly this. And he'll disappear when you're not of use to him anymore. Until he needs a kidney. Not today, Hull. He is a stranger as he's not been father. End of story. I forget what comedian it is, so I can't give them credit or direct to a YouTube link, but he's got a bit about how if you refer to your dad as your bio dad and not just dad, it really tells you all you need to know about that relationship. Not today, Hull. If he hasn't acknowledged you over the years and suddenly wants you to have his last name, then he is the a-hole. Not today, Hull. Providing seed does not make someone a dad. You owe him nothing. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad that I wouldn't need to use my magical child of divorce powers if he didn't F up in the first place? Some background. My female 17 mom and dad separated when I was 6, and he married to Maggie when I was 8. Since then, they've had 3 kids together who I absolutely adore. Even though we're only half siblings, they all tie for the #1 spot on my list of favorite people, and we're pretty close. Plus, my dad is currently going through his 3rd marriage as he was married once before my mom. My dad told me a few days ago that he and Maggie are getting divorced for reasons I'd rather not explicitly disclose, but in general, they're both at fault. He is currently staying at my grandparents' house. It has been for about 2 weeks, but my siblings think he's away on business. He really wants to see us, so he asked me to come down and I agreed. However, when he told them, they did not take it well. At all. And while I'm not really surprised at their reaction, from the way it was described to me, I don't think he really helped. From what I understand, Maggie and him sat them down. My dad appeared virtually, told them they were getting a divorce, refused to answer any questions as to why, except for them saying that they don't love each other anymore and they haven't for a while now. They told them that there was nothing more they could do for each other and that they were sick of trying. My siblings flipped out and apparently haven't even been speaking with my stepmother since she told them. Now, when my dad told me this, he said that while he wanted to spend time with me this weekend, he needed me to patch up the kids and use my experience as a child of divorce. I told him I wasn't a therapist, and that while I'm more than happy to help, I can't promise that they're gonna want to talk to them because they have a right to be upset. He said that they were just overreacting, and that they're gonna have to grow up and get used to it because witching about it isn't going to change anything. At this point, I just straight up told him that if some people could keep it in their pants, maybe we wouldn't be here. He said that was unfair, and that he was my father, and that I had no right to talk to him like that. I responded that he had no right to tell my siblings, or anybody, how to feel, and that I hoped for the next marriage he might get it together. He hung up. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You were 17 years old, and you were right with everything. 1, you are not a therapist. 2, you and your siblings don't ask to be born. 3, you and your siblings has a right to be upset. But for your sake, don't let you used by them. It is their responsibility to bring their stuff together, not yours. Would probably be nice if Opie to speak to her siblings as a child of a divorce and tell them that they'll get through it. Everything else is on Opie's dad and Maggie. You'd think by now Opie's dad would be more practiced at divorce announcements. But hearing this too will pass and they'll survive. If worse for the wear, from someone they like, lack trust and who isn't currently engaged in breaking that trust may be helpful to them. Lord knows these kids can't rely on their parents. Not at AITA. You're absolutely not your half-sibling's therapist, and your dad is asking you to handle them for him because otherwise, he'd have to address how he screwed up here and actually parent. Good on you for recognizing it and telling him no. Honestly, if this is his third time divorcing, you would think he'd have learned what not to do by now. Nah, he just figures the next one will be pliant and submissive enough to do whatever he wants. Not at AITA, by the way. Not at AITA. I wish I could buy you a beer for such an epic response. Not at AITA. It's his and Maggie's responsibility to arrange for therapy for the kids, not to guilt you into playing that role instead. Divorce can have a huge impact on younger kids, and it sounds like he's taking this far more lightly than his kids are. Calling Dad out may have been unnecessary, but Dad was being completely unreasonable and sounds like he could use the wake-up call. That being said, your dad's hostility on the matter, if unusual, could be a sign that he feels a reasonable amount of guilt for what his kids are going through. If so, he's coming from a place of many emotions and may not be at his most reasonable right now. Nonetheless, asking you to do the job of a trained mental health professional is inappropriate, and you were right to decline. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for telling my grown son why he didn't grow up with his father's surname? I, 44 female, was in a toxic relationship. My ex, Joe, 49 male, met me when I was 15, and we started dating when I was 18. My mom was against the relationship, and I moved in with him at 19, because I thought that since mom was never married, she didn't know what she was talking about. I won't go into more details, but eventually I wised up, reconciled with my mom, and moved away. Not that Joe made it easy. I later met my other ex, Eric, 45 male, and I told him about Joe, and said that he might reach out to him. I warned him that Joe was a liar and just a terrible person. Fast forward to me being 7 months pregnant with our son AJ, 20 male. This was my first pregnancy, and I was very nervous because it wasn't planned. I was worried that Eric would leave me after the baby was born, and constantly ask him to reassure me that no matter what happened, he'd still be here. Eric always did until one day he didn't, and I started noticing that he was becoming distant. Eventually, he told me that Joe reached out to him and showed him pictures of him engaging in adult acts with a woman, and said that it was me and that he was my baby's father. You can't identify who the woman is, so Eric brushed it off at first, but then he thought about how I was always getting him to promise me that no matter what happened, he would never leave me, and now he had doubt. I told him the reasons why I needed to hear him say it'd stay, reminded him how crazy Joe was, and even got others to back up my story, and told him that I don't even want to talk to Joe, let alone be near him. Eric said that he understood, but to ease his mind, he wanted a DNA test. I was upset and very insulted, and asked what or if I ever did anything to make him believe that I was a cheater. Eric admitted that I never gave him a reason, so I said that there would be no test. We got into a fight, and Eric said that he refused to sign the birth certificate until a DNA test was done. I was hurt and moved out. I didn't talk to him and gave birth with my mom by my side. We took the test, and Eric was the father. He tried to apologize, but I didn't want to hear it. I would never deny access to our son, but I felt like he wasn't reliable, so I gave our son my surname so that in case Eric left him, then my son wouldn't have to deal with his own name being a reminder of the father who might abandon him. Now that AJ is a legal adult, he said he was interested in taking Eric's surname, and I was fine with that. But he asked me why he never had his dad's name in the first place. It wasn't the first time he asked, but I always brushed it off before. However, now that he was an adult, I told him the truth. AJ confronted his dad, and now he's not speaking to him at the moment. I didn't intend to cause a rift, and felt like my son would be bothered by it because it was more about us than him. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Keep seeing it, so I'm going to say it here and instead of each comment. 1. Yes, I told AJ the whole truth and didn't twist details in my favor. I told him that his father had doubts after seeing pictures. I felt hurt and wasn't sure if I could trust his father to stick around. I admitted to him that it was mostly issues I had, but was also hurt that Eric would trust someone who hurt me instead of me, despite admitting that I never gave him a reason to not trust me. 2. After my son was born, I developed postpartum and I got therapy not too long after giving birth, and have worked out a lot of my issues now that I'm a more mature adult. 3. Yes, despite my fears, Eric did stick around. And up until now, AJ and him have had a great relationship, which is why I feel guilt now. 4. I refuse to hyphenate because, again, I thought Eric would leave and didn't want his name attached to our son if he did. 5. No, Eric never pushed to change the name. Probably because he felt too ashamed after the test confirmed that I was telling the truth, but his side of the family would bring it up a couple of times. Not Dayhall. He's a grown man. He's old enough to know the truth. Not Dayhall. You were not married to Eric, and you never knew what kind of father he would turn out to be. You knew you were going to be a constant in your son's life, and it was in his and your best interest to give him your last name. Too many women give their children, who were born out of wedlock, no judgment, the last name of the father and then are tied, by name, to a man who doesn't participate in raising them. And that's what I was worried about. I've seen both sides of the situation for people growing up without their fathers, and those who didn't have their surname seemed to have an easier time than the ones who did. Not Dayhall. He believed your abuser over you, effectively letting your known abuser use him to further his mistreatment on you. Dude's an accomplice to his act. Update. My ex-husband wouldn't let my youngest daughter to be at my wedding. Original post. So I need to give some backstory. My ex-husband, 37 male, and I, 37 female, have been divorced for 6 years now. We have 2 daughters. Emily, 16 female, and Gabby, 8 female, and was happily married for 10 years. Then, he cheated on me with a college freshman and left me for her. It was hard for me. I was in so much emotional pain. It wasn't just his cheating, but also how he said he hates me and that I looked ugly. He even said something on the line of, I was not as tight as I used to be. You can imagine my pain. It gave me some serious trust issues. I couldn't forget what he said to me during our divorce. Emily knew why we divorced, and she held some resentment towards her father for that. But Gabby was too young at the time. Nonetheless, he was a crappy husband, but a good father to both of them. We shared custody. The girls would be with me from Friday to Monday. I tried my best, but from time to time I would spiral, and I have been in and out of therapy since my divorce. I met my now husband Ben, 41 male, 4 years ago. We met because we worked in the same building and I was crying on the roof of the office building. Ben was there too when he saw me. He asked me what happened and I just bawled my eyes out, because that day was my wedding anniversary, and that was the same day my ex decided that he would get married to his affair partner. Ben listened to my concerns and stayed with me the whole day to make sure I was fine. He even dropped me to my house because I was too emotionally unstable to drive myself. From there, we started dating. He told me a story about how he lost his wife and only daughter 10 years ago in a car accident. He was really fond of my daughters as well. Emily has started to call him Dad after a year of us dating. Gabby also calls him Daddy Ben. I was finally healing and getting back to my old self. Ben was really nice and caring, and we welcomed our son a year ago. My girls are happy to have a brother. He proposed to me when I was pregnant, and we had been planning for our wedding since then. Now here is the issue. Emily is one of my bridesmaids, while Gabby is my flower girl. Emily is old enough to choose which parent she wants to live with, so there was no issue from her part. But Gabby was still going back and forth from my house to my ex's house. My wedding is in 2 weeks. My ex was fine with it at first. I spoke to him many times to make sure that he drives Gabby to my mother's place, but now he refuses. He says that he only gets to see his daughter 3 times a week, and he is not willing to give up his days for some party. I told him he could take my days for a week and let her be at the wedding, but he says he will not let Gabby go. The wedding is on a Tuesday, which means Gabby would be with him. I cannot change the date because everything is booked. Please give me some advice. We have argued a lot, and I don't think I can go through any emotional pain with this ever again. Gabby would be heartbroken because she is really excited to be flower girl. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Wow, what a massive a-hole. Tell him you will give up a month's worth of days for that one day because it is a monumental special occasion. Ask him if he is really that heartless to hurt his daughter just to spite you. Ask him if he can look her in the eye and explain to her why she doesn't get to be a flower girl in her mom's wedding. Ask him if he hates you more than he loves his daughter. Will your older child talk to him? While it's really not fair to put her in that situation, it may help. I don't want to put this pressure on her. She already hates him for what he had done. I don't think giving up a month just for one day seems logical, but I will have a harsh talk with him. He cannot keep my daughter away from me. Les, your ex is using your youngest daughter to get to you. It's not about her or the wedding. It's about pushing buttons. He knows how to do it, and has found one to push. I learned it in the hard way. In total disclosure, my ex did something similar. I thought she was above that, but she wasn't. My 4 kids didn't go to my wedding to second and current wife. They hold that against her still 23 years later. Karma sucks sometimes. As a last-ditch effort, contact the attorney you used when you got divorced. See if they will draft a letter to him reminding him that events in parents' lives are usually negotiated between the willing parents for the good of the children. Maybe a letter will adjust his thinking. If not, I'd send a final text, then let it go. I'm not sure how he's going to explain to the youngest why the older can go and she can't, but that's his anchor. And if younger asks you why, tell her Dad's pushing for you to not be there. I want you there. He does not. Firmly point out that this is on him, not you. Congrats on the upcoming wedding. Focus on the day, not that jerk messing with you. I will do that. Thanks. Now for the update 4 days later. It's been hectic since the last I posted. So I mentioned in my last post that my ex-husband with whom I share 2 children, Emily and Gabby. Emily lives with me now, but occasionally goes to her father's place. I made that post on Wednesday and went Friday to pick up Gabby. My daughter Emily was angry. I asked her what happened, and she says that Gabby was throwing a tantrum because of some stupid lie their father has told Gabby that they will be going on a vacation on my wedding day. Gabby said no, because she was excited to be my flower girl and threw a tantrum. I was furious. This cowardly man wanted to take my daughter away from me so that she's never my flower girl. I stomped my way into his house and demanded to see my daughter. My fiancé was with me. I demanded to see my daughter and said that he was a coward for not telling my daughter the real reason why she can't be at my wedding. My daughter rushed towards my fiancé Ben, and I told him to tell Gabby the truth. I was done with this man. I told him if he doesn't tell her, I will. I had screenshots on my phone. I am surprised that he caved and eventually told her the truth. Gabby was crying and saying that she hates him. My ex-husband was not having it. She took Gabby away from Ben and violently shakes her and calls her a brat who doesn't appreciate her dad. I don't know what came onto me, but I saw red and pushed my ex out of the way. He called me a witch, and his wife came out and tried to handle him. I got my daughter Gabby, but my ex wasn't letting me. He even got into a physical altercation with my fiancé, while Emily was recording it from a distance. My ex kept shouting that he will not let my daughter go with him. I reminded him that this is my turn to have her, and that he agreed he would let my daughter stay with me until the wedding is over. I have the messages with me that he agreed to our agreement. He couldn't do anything, and we left. Upon arriving, Emily told me if it is possible to keep Gabby with us forever, because she does not want to live with her dad. I asked why, and she told me that her dad has been really angry ever since I started a relationship. It wasn't that extreme at first. Then he started insulting me behind my back about how much I downgraded by dating Ben. It got even more agitated when he learned I was pregnant. He has been asking his wife to start having kids, and they had fights multiple times. It doesn't end there. Emily also mentions he would often lash out on Gabby and even scold her for making small mistakes. He even forced both of them to call his wife Mom, but Emily refused. She also said the only reason she ever goes back is because she knows Gabby has to stay with him, and she is just protecting her. I cried and asked her why she didn't tell me. She responded that she saw how happy I was with Ben, so she didn't want to burden me. I don't know what to say. I never wanted my daughter to take the burden. While I am happy that she tried to protect her sister, I feel disappointed in myself that I was so busy with my new life that I neglected my daughter. Whenever they came home, they were smiling, and I took that as a sign that everything was okay. I told Emily while I'm proud of her, she should have told me. She should have never taken it upon herself to save Gabby. I am their mother, and I will protect them from everything. I was going to let my daughter stay with my ex when I was in my honeymoon, so that he would not cry about not spending enough time with his daughters. Now I'm thinking otherwise. I don't know what to do. I am really stressed and next week is my wedding. The amount of people freak out when the ex starts dating again is mind-boggling. especially the ones who cheated on their ex and left them. I saw another post on AITA where the mom who cheated on OP's father with his stepdad freaked out when her ex who she left 7 years ago started dating. The mom straight up stalked the girlfriend. The cheater never ends up happy. You see it time and time again. Because they always want something new and shiny, and nothing is new and shiny forever. They don't realize things only stay shiny when you polish them. That child bride knows that she doesn't want kids with this man. I mean, she probably is planning her exit, refusing to have kids with him, so no attachments. Watching him mistreat his own children? If he's doing it to the kids, he's doing it to her. Opie leaving that marriage is the best thing that happens. I'm glad she found a good match that her kids seem to love. It's not clear, but it sounds like they might have video of the ex manhandling poor Gabby and a verbal altercation, which looks bad for both of them, but seems to be on the side of Opie. Some parenting classes or whatever would be well worth getting her out of that house if they can get a judge to see the ex seems to be edging towards physical harm. I mean, she only jumped when her ex was shaking Gabby, so it can count as self-defense. Last story. Update. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law on my fiancé? Original post. My fiancé, male 22, was injured over a month ago and had surgery to correct things literally 2 days after the accident. I, 21, female, have been by his side the entire time. I have more or less become his caregiver. In the last month, I have taken over the role of keeping our house together. I cook all the meals, I take care of the pets, I stay up all night to tend to his endless needs, and I take him to the bathroom. I have been working remote and haven't left the house for more than an hour since the accident, aside from taking him to and from appointments. I am not saying this to complain. I am grateful that my life allows for me to support him the way I have. My problem is his attitude. He was given very strong painkillers for the first 2 weeks after surgery. He had to extend his time on them. He recently stopped taking them in the last week. When he was taking them, he thanked me, told me how much he loved me, apologized at every step, though he didn't need to. Without the meds, he doesn't seem to see that I'm helping him. Every dish I bring him is the wrong one. He will yell for me, and when I come, he will tell me to get lost. If he's in pain, he expects me to fix it. I am exhausted. I can't do anything right, and it is wearing on me. I haven't slept in weeks. I haven't seen a friend or family member in way too long. I can't even be on the phone for more than 10 minutes without it being an issue. After days of what turned into verbal abuse, I called my mother-in-law. I told her everything as soon as I saw he was asleep. I cried for about 15 minutes. I felt terrible unloading on her like that, but I had so much built-up frustration I just couldn't stop. She was very supportive on the phone, let me know I wasn't wrong to feel like that and let me cry. After hearing everything, she was furious and ended our call to talk to her son. She tore him a new one. I heard him trying to defend himself through the door, but it was mostly just stammering. She flew up yesterday and put me in a nice hotel. I haven't heard much from my fiancé since I left, but as I was leaving, he was yelling at me for calling his mom. He said he didn't want to marry someone who couldn't be there for him in sickness. I told him I loved him and I was sorry. I am just so tired. He didn't care and just told me to go, and his mom could do a better job for him than I ever could. So now I'm on my way to a nice hotel room, feeling like a major a-hole. I need to know if I'm wrong here. Edit. He began weaning off 2 weeks ago and became fully dependent on over-the-counter medication this week. He did not stop taking them cold turkey. His doctors were heavily involved too, due to previous substance abuse. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You've gone above and beyond. In sickness and in health does not mean never needing a break. It doesn't mean accepting abuse. Can you break up with a fiancé and keep the mother-in-law? She sounds great. I second this. Toss the fiancé. Keep mother-in-law. Maybe. Withdrawal and pain make a-holes of us all. OP, previously he was super grateful. Maybe give it a few weeks? I think the crappy side of him is the true side. If she doesn't want to deal with him being rude and emotionally abusive, yelling and cussing at her, I'd run. Not the a-hole. It's in sickness and in health, not through abuse and toxicity. This is a distinction that needs to be highlighted more often. Not the a-hole. Exactly. And they're not even married, so those vows mean crap. Lol. Mother-in-law sounds like a keeper though. Now for the updates. Mother-in-law is taking him back to their hometown once they can get flights together.
I'll stay in this hotel until then. Fiancé doesn't want to talk yet, and to be honest, I don't blame him. He knows what's coming, and I'm angry. I'll go visit him in a week, so I have until then to decide how I want to move forward. My mother called last night about a venue she found in my hometown, and I told her what's going on. She doesn't want to spend a bunch of money on a pending divorce, so we are stepping back from planning. Not much more to add. I'm excited to see my pets and be able to sleep in my own bed. I'm going to try to make my sister fly to my state so I can have some company. That's pretty much it. I'm in serious awe about how I let my life get like this. But oh well, today will be better. Second update. I went home 2 days after posting. Things were sad. My mother-in-law had cleaned, but the energy in the house was a bummer. The first thing he said to me when I got back was, "I'm glad you're back. Can you make me a snack?" There was no apology, no accountability, just a task. He only talked to me when he needed something, and his attitude was worsening. My mother-in-law took the rest of his prescribed opiates, so I knew he wasn't using. The weekend following the mother-in-law debacle, my wonderful fiancé told me he had friends coming to stay for the weekend. 2 hour heads up. Didn't ask. I sighed and made up the guest room. His friend and friend's girlfriend came to stay, and during the stay, my fiancé bought me flowers, got out of bed daily, took me out, and let me call my parents unsupervised. The day they left, he was back to bed with a crappy attitude. I wish I could say I am in my own apartment with my pets, and a bottle of rosé that's just for me, or with my girlfriends that I haven't seen in months. Unfortunately, I'm writing this on a couch while I listen to the music that are his endless demands. However, I do have a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm scared to leave him in person, but is leaving the country for a month in April. My sister lives abroad, and I'm working on getting her during that month. That's a process, especially with pets, but I'm looking forward to getting there. My mother hasn't spoken to me since I told her I was returning the ring, because that's not what we do. We clean our messes. But I have my father's unwavering support. I'll miss my mother-in-law, but I deserve that kindness and understanding from my partner, not his mother. I have stopped forcing myself to find a joy in his presence, and it's helping to fuel my drive to get out of here. I may update again when I get to my sister, but don't be surprised if I do my best to put this chapter behind me. Thanks for the kind words. I hope you all get the love and hugs you need. Sorry, I'm confused. I thought fiancé was going with mother-in-law. Either way, I'm glad you're getting out. The fact that he allowed you to call your parents unsupervised is probably the biggest red flag. And the fact that your mother thinks that this is a mess that you made, or that you need to work to clean up is awful too. But I'm glad you have the support of your dad and mother-in-law. If you don't give another update, then I'll just wish you the best here. You deserve to get out. Mother-in-law was planning on taking him. He refused. The fact that when his friends were around, his switch flipped and he was fine. Then he went right back to being horrible is all you needed to know of his true colors. I look forward to seeing an update about you drinking some rosé away from him. Exactly. That's how abusers behave. Nice and loving towards you in front of others, while being a complete monster behind closed doors. Final update. Things got very bad since I posted this, and I'm currently in my childhood room at my father's, decently hungover. And I am officially a single lady.